The rain hammered against the windows as Sarah sat alone in her old car, parked in front of a decaying mansion. The house loomed in the darkness, its windows black like hollow eyes. The story of this place was infamous, whispered about in local pubs and around campfires for generations. They called it the Whispering House. The rumors claimed that once you entered, you would hear voices that weren't your own. And if you stayed too long, those voices would start to speak directly to you. Sarah had always been skeptical. She didn't believe in ghosts, hauntings, or anything supernatural. But after receiving a letter from her estranged grandmother's lawyer, Sarah found herself drawn to the mansion. Her grandmother had passed away unexpectedly, and she had left Sarah something, a key and a cryptic note: "Find the truth before the house finds you." With the storm pouring down harder, Sarah reluctantly got out of the car and walked toward the mansion's entrance. The door creaked open as if it had been waiting for her, and an unsettling chill ran down her spine. The hallway stretched long and narrow, filled with dust-covered furniture, and the smell of mildew clung to the air. It felt like time had stood still here, trapped in the decay of forgotten years. Sarah's fingers brushed the walls as she passed, her footsteps echoing off the wooden floors. At the end of the hall was a grand staircase, the banister twisted like a serpent's spine. Her heart pounded with an unknown dread as she ascended. The note had mentioned something about the attic, but the eerie silence made it hard for her to focus. She reached the attic door and noticed the brass key in her pocket. It was an ornate key, old-fashioned but well-crafted. She inserted it into the lock, and the door groaned open. Inside, the air was thick with dust. Shelves lined the walls, filled with strange trinkets and old family photographs. In the center of the room was a large, ornate mirror. It was covered by a black cloth, but a sliver of reflection peeked through, enough to catch Sarah's eye. Compelled, she pulled the cloth away. For a moment, nothing happened. But then, she heard it. A whisper. "Sarah." Her heart skipped a beat. She spun around, expecting to see someone behind her. But there was no one, just the dim light flickering from the corner. She shook her head, dismissing it as her imagination. The wind outside howled louder, shaking the house like it might collapse. Then, the whisper came again. Only this time, it was closer, almost in her ear. "Sarah, you should leave." Her breath caught in her throat. She turned back toward the mirror and saw something in the reflection that made her freeze. There, standing behind her, was a shadowy figure, a woman. The figure had long, dark hair that obscured most of her face, but there was something about her presence that felt chilling. Sarah's body went rigid with fear. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. The figure didn't answer. Instead, she reached out, slowly lifting a hand toward Sarah in the reflection. Before Sarah could react, the shadowy woman's finger touched the glass, sending a ripple across the mirror's surface. Sarah stumbled backward, horrified. The mirror's reflection warped and twisted like water disturbed by a stone. She turned around. Nothing. It was then that the whispering began, rising in volume and urgency. "Sarah, you mustn't stay." The voice, now unmistakably coming from the mirror, was pleading, almost frantic. Suddenly, Sarah felt an overwhelming urge to leave, but her feet wouldn't move. Her body felt frozen, her heart racing in her chest. The whispering grew louder, more frantic, until it was deafening. "Leave now, or be trapped forever." A sudden burst of wind slammed the attic door shut, and the temperature dropped sharply. Sarah could see her breath as she gasped, eyes darting around the room, looking for a way out. That's when she saw it. A small door hidden behind a stack of old crates, leading deeper into the house. With no other choice, Sarah ran toward it. The whispers chased her, urging her to stop, to turn back. But she couldn't. The cold air wrapped around her, biting at her skin as she fumbled with the latch, finally throwing the door open. The hallway beyond was pitch black, the only light coming from the flickering bulb overhead. She moved forward cautiously, unsure of where she was going, but determined to escape whatever haunted this house. As she walked deeper into the house, the whispers faded, but the sense of being watched only grew stronger. The silence was deafening, broken only by the soft creak of the house settling. Sarah reached a small door, which opened to what appeared to be a hidden room, almost like a study. The room was lined with bookshelves, filled with old, tattered books. The only furniture was an ancient desk, its surface cluttered with papers. On the desk lay another letter, this one addressed to her. She picked it up with trembling hands, reading the words, "Sarah, you have come looking for answers. What you don't know is that this house is alive. It feeds off the souls of those who enter, and now that it has tasted yours, it will never let you leave. You are the latest in a long line of victims, and soon, you will become part of its collection. The voices you hear are those who came before you, trapped within its walls, never able to escape. The only way to stop it is to destroy the mirror before it destroys you." The floor beneath her shook violently. The lights flickered, and the air turned ice cold. Something was coming. Panic gripped her as she raced back to the attic. The mirror stood there, its surface dark and unyielding. The shadowy woman was still there, her face now more visible, a twisted, anguished expression. "It's too late," the woman whispered, her voice now a haunting, melodic croon. Without thinking, Sarah lunged at the mirror, slamming the ornate key into its frame, smashing it to pieces. The room exploded in a burst of light and sound, the walls closing in around her. For a moment, there was silence. The whispers ceased. The house held its breath. Then, the ground beneath her feet gave way. The house was collapsing. Sarah's last thought, as the world around her plunged into darkness, was of her grandmother's letter. "Find the truth before the house finds you."